when it faces crisis. I think it would be legitimate to say at this point that our community is facing a series of crises. We're facing a food insecurity crisis purely manufactured by the federal government through its inaction and its lack of compassion. Political fights should never result in meals being removed from the table of our children. We're facing a stability crisis in our community because of the disruptions created through an incessant number and level of immigration enforcement actions that have resulted in fear, intimidation, real terror across our community. Kids missing classes in school as a result of fear of traveling to their school. Parents often huddling at home, facing a fear that does not need to happen. But wrapped around these crises of manufactured fear, no doubt intended to terrorize, maybe lead to self-deportation, there are also good news. And I'd like to start there. I think this community by now knows me as the eternal optimist. I believe that tomorrow, through the goodwill of our community, through the goodwill of our workforce, through the goodwill and the forceful courage of our school board, tomorrow can actually become better if we do our very best. So let me begin by informing you of who is here with us today very briefly, and then go to the first news, first good news first, and then two important announcements regarding issues that emanate from the federal government that have significant repercussions here in our community. With us today, we have, or will have shortly, our board president, Scott Schmerlson, board vice president, Dr. Rocio Rivas, board member, Carla Griego, board member, Charlotte Newbill-Hindi, board member, Nick Melvoin, and board member, Kelly Gomez, and board member, Tanya Ortiz-Franklin. We're also in the presence of Dr. Barbara Ferrer, the director of Los Angeles County Department of Public Health. We have Adriana Salazar, president of Teamsters 572, with Teresa Ventura, representing food services manager at Maywood Academy. We have representatives from SEIU 99. And then, of course, we have entities whose work, through compassion, through giving, through support, have done so much in our community, such as LA Regional Food Banks, LA YMCA with my brother Victor Dominguez, Unidos US with Elizabeth Zamudio, EdLock with Sharonda Bossier, Brotherhood Crusade, Stacy Hill Williams, All People's Community Center, Brandy Muniz, First 5 LA with Carla Howell, GPSN, Adrian Sandoval and Melissa Gonzalez, PICE with Miguel Segura, the Southeast Community Development Corporation with Emma Hernandez, Communities in Schools LA with Elmer Roldan, the Boys and Girls Club of San Fernando Valley, Our Voice, Inner City Struggle, Community Coalition, and Southeast Los Angeles Collaborative with Wilma Franco. These entities have and continue to do and will do so much for our workforce and our students, particularly during these times of crisis. So as I said, I'd like to detail for you three important topics. The first one is good news. And the first one deals with the release, the state release of LPAC data. Now, a bit of a lesson. LPAC is the state assessment that is provided to every single English language learner in the state of California. Just a few weeks ago, you saw the governor of the state and the state superintendent were in town no fewer than 3 times through a variety of press events to release the state's Smarter Balance data. If you recall back then, our district celebrated historic achievement levels. In reading, math, and science, the 3 subject areas tested, across all grade levels and all subgroups, we improved. You heard then that not only did we improve this past year, in terms of distance from standard, we improved in double-digit format. Our subgroups, whether we're talking about Latino kids, Black students, whether we're talking about white or Asian kids, poor children, they all outperformed the state of California. And today, our subgroups, the same subgroups I just described, are performing better than their counterparts across the state. Another way of saying this is Black kids in LA, Latino kids in LA, white kids in LA, Asian kids in LA outperform their counterparts across the state. And in a process, our remarkable teachers and our support staff, our remarkable teachers and support staff, with the support of individuals behind me, was able to deliver the much anticipated news our community needed, which is, for the first time since the pandemic, our students across the board are performing above pre-pandemic levels and have established a new historic high of achievement in our community. I cannot think of another district in the state or another district in the country that can say what I just said. So how could it become better? Well, the last assessment for this past year, its results were just published. And the LPAC results are truly stunning. Now, I want to reemphasize this. Who are we talking about? These are English language learners. And why did I decide to have a press event today where I speak about the LPAC results obtained by English language learners and simultaneously speak about immigration? Because often they are one and the same student. So here's the good news, folks. Los Angeles Unified has a higher percentage of students performing at level 4 at the highest level at 20.64% than any other large district and the state itself. In fact, 20.64% is our data. The state only reached 15.53%. What that means is our rate of improvement was 4 times the rate of improvement of the state. The state only achieved a 0.9 rate of improvement. Ours was 4.33. This was done by our teachers, our support staff, and I want to say once again, by students whose background is disproportionately immigrant, speakers of other languages. Despite the fears in their families, despite the challenges they are living through, they delivered big. They are, in fact, not a threat to our community and our nation. They are the promise of our community and the promise of our nation. Those are the good news. And they get even better, because this impressive achievement through LPAC results was not specific only to one subgroup of students. Students of all ethnicities and races improved in a very significant way. And that's exactly what we want to see as a school district. Again, why is it important to talk about this at this moment? Well, number one, the state just released the data. And I have to say that what continues to happen in our community is both heartbreaking and humanely unacceptable. The impacts we've seen as far as attendance, enrollment, what parents and families are telling us about their real fears, and I know this firsthand. For we knock on doors, we speak with parents who convey to us their terror, their fear, leaving their own house. Not only to go to school, but to go to the supermarket, to go to the park with their children. Who are we and what are we doing as a country? I was shocked, much like many of us were last week, when we first heard of and then we saw visuals of federal authorities taking immigration action so close to one of our schools, Santee Educational Complex, a high school, an action that resulted in firearms being discharged by federal agents. One of the federal agents being hit by a bullet discharged by one federal agent, yards away from a school where hundreds of students were learning. I don't know about you, but if there's anything we could do to avoid that type of event so close to a school, let's begin there. Above all, protect the children. They cannot be a victim of adult disagreements. That is why, over a month ago, and I had not disclosed this publicly, in an effort to attempt to seek a resolution, negotiate a resolution with the federal government. Over a year ago, I sent a letter to the Secretaries of Homeland Security and Education with a simple request based on the effects we know are happening in our community. Fear, attendance declines, enrollment declines. And by the way, this is not just about immigrant kids. We do not have in our community and across our country sidewalks for immigrant kids and sidewalks for everybody else. Every one of our children's families walks the same sidewalk of hope and opportunity to schools. And I find it unacceptable that during that journey, children as young as 4 years old would witness adults jumping out of vehicles with vests, helmets, and long rifles. That visual alone is impactful to most of us. Just imagine the long-term trauma that it inflicts on the young minds of children in our community. Can we spare them from that tragedy? And that was exactly my request of the secretaries. Please establish exclusion zones 2 blocks away from any school. No such type of action would be taken, particularly emphasizing 1 hour before and 1 hour after the school day begins and ends. Can we at least generate some degree of compassion towards our children by creating those zones of exclusion? I did not receive a response to that letter. And then our worst fears actually materialized. The Santee event happened. So today I sent another letter, making the same request, advancing the same plea before the highest officials in the land, reflecting on the event at Santee. A bullet striking anyone in our community or anywhere is unacceptable. But those shots were fired so close to a school. Imagine the risk. If our request had been heard and reacted to, maybe that would have been avoided, as this school was literally a block away from the school. This event took place a block away from the school. We will work with federal entities to seek a response to this honest, simple, but critically important request. I believe my colleagues, educators across the country, would easily subscribe to what I believe is a compassionate policy. It does not solve for everything, but certainly it solves for part of the problem and extends additional support to our children and our educators. The second and the third and last issue beyond LPAC and the recent immigration actions we've taken, and by the way, we continue to protect our kids. We do not divulge immigration status. We've added additional bus routes to provide safe passage to our kids. We rely on community-based organizations to assist with safe passage. Yes, we've empowered our communities with family preparedness packets. We've done all we can, and we will continue to do much more, inclusive of providing legal support to impacted families who have children in our school system. So the last issue is an equally disturbing issue that will create incredible disruption in our community. On November 1st, SNAP benefits will cease to exist, not only here in our community, across the country. I want to speak specifically to the impact of that federal decision. 271,000 of our children, 271,000 of our children depend on those benefits. Let me explain what SNAP does. SNAP will buy the breakfast, the lunch, the dinner, critical elements for families and children, poor families. It is incomprehensible to me that a federal shutdown would result in terms of first order of impact, not only salaries of workers across the country, the next big thing, punishing poor people, remove meals from their table, forcing kids who are poor into becoming poor. We are better than that. We are better than that. Across our community, in LA County, we have in excess of 1.5 million SNAP recipients. This cannot be, this cannot stand. Until, however, there is a solution at the federal level, we will not stay idle. We will spring into action as we've done before. On the screens, you see lausd.org/food help. That is the website that declares not only community-based organizations, agencies, county, city, our own, to provide meals to kids. In our school system, we already offer free breakfast, lunch, and supper to any kid, no questions asked. We are ramping up our efforts and ensuring that across most of our schools, supper will be available to be picked up, as has been the case in the past, for any child up to the age of 18. Folks, we're not going to ask questions. We do not want, nor shall we accept, the ramifications and the direct impact that will be spelled out as hunger experienced by our children. The rumbling stomach of a child will prevent that child from learning. It is not humane. It is not compassionate. We will not stand by it. That is why we've stood up this website. We list the resources. Many of the organizations represented here will be providers alongside the school district, but critical for people to know. If you are 18 or younger, families, please come to our sites and pick up the equivalent of a dinner. For this week, we'll be providing shelf-stable and sustainable food products. Beginning next week, actually cooked food available to anyone in our community who meets that criteria, 18 or younger. It is the least we can do. I want to be clear also that these federal decisions, particularly the shutdown, is not impacting, nor will it impact the provision of the breakfast, lunch, and supper that we're providing. We do not anticipate any type of impact specific to our nutrition program in our community. I will ask now a direct appeal to the community. We have a foundation. It is listed on our website. We've done well through the compassion of people, whether it was to support families in need as a result of the fires, immigration support through the Compassion Fund, support to our own workforce with money and financial as well as social and emotional support. But we need more. This is the time to donate, to provide additional resources for the people in need in our community. So with that said, let me bring up some additional speakers. 3 important points: LPAC, immigration, communication with the federal government, and last but not least, the provision of food during this time of crisis to the poorest in our community. Let me introduce our board president, President Scott Schmerelson.
Let me just say that this is why I personally am so proud to be part of LAUSD. This is what we do. We are for the children. And, you know, food necessity is number one in my book for our kids and our families. And we did this during the pandemic, and we will do it again. That was a national crisis. We have another national crisis, and we will be there, and we will feed our families. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Our board was convening a committee meeting downstairs, working around the clock. We've now been joined again by our Vice President, Dr. Rocio Rivas. Please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today, as you all know, we are gathered with a shared purpose to ensure that every child in Los Angeles Unified is safe, supported, and able to thrive. That's not just our mission, it's our moral obligation. Let's start with a point of pride. As y'all heard, our English learners are making history. This year, 20.6% of our students achieved the highest level on the LPAC, the best results in LAUSD's history, and far above the state average. Every student group has improved, showing that when we invest in bilingual programs, targeted supports, and family partnerships, our students soar. This is what progress looks like when equity is at the center of our work. But achievement cannot flourish without safety. Every LAUSD school is and will always be a safe, welcoming place for every child, regardless of immigration status. We do not ask for, collect, or share that information, as the superintendent just reiterated, because the right for a public education belongs to every child. We're speaking out today because recent immigration enforcement near our schools has crossed a line. Gunfire near Santee Education Complex endangered students and staff, and that is unacceptable. Schools must be places of learning and not fear. When children are afraid, when parents hesitate to send their kids to school, that affects the entire community. The entire community suffers. That's why we've strengthened our safety protocols, provide Know Your Rights resources, activated support systems for families, communication. Our message is clear and unwavering. Every child is welcome here, and every child belongs here. And as federal SNAP benefits end for more than 200,000 of our students soon, we're responding with compassion and action. Expanding our free meals programs, launching district-wide food drives, and partnering with organizations like YMCA, LA Regional Food Bank, and LA Education Foundation to make sure no child in Los Angeles goes hungry. In moments of uncertainty, LAUSD stands firm. As a pillar of safety, compassion, and equity, we will continue to protect every child's right to learn without fear, to nourish every student, and to celebrate every student's success. Because here in Los Angeles, our schools are more than classrooms. They are sanctuaries of learning, belonging, and hope. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, Board Member Charlotte Newbill.
Hello. As mentioned, it's bittersweet kind of to be here, to be able to celebrate some great things that we do within this district, but then also to know that we've been on attack. As a product of this district, it is also proud to be able to say, as we continue to do for our students and our families, is to step up. And the district has done that with the support of many partners that are here behind us today, and we'll continue to do that and continue to make our students feel safe and our families know that we are a safe space for them. And to continue to be able to provide nutritional food for them is very important, especially during this time. And so as a constituent as well as a mother, I know that this is very important to many, many of us, to know that your child will be taken care of. And I want to reiterate more and more the incidents that's taken place at our local school, that is unacceptable, and that's why we stand here together. We bind together to reiterate how much we will continue to fight for our families, for our students, to make our spaces safe, and along those same lines, to make sure that we provide nutritional food, to make sure that we are providing for the whole child. And so it is so encouraging to know that we will continue to step up when our country has not done the same and been on the right side of history. And so as a board member that serves in this community and for this district, we want to let you know that we are here in this together. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, School Board Member Carla Griego.
Thank you. This is regarding the LPAC scores. This is a tremendous achievement in spite of the attacks on these very students, our immigrant students. Mastering 2 languages or more is not easy. What many of our students have had to traverse to get here is not easy. It shows us just how resilient our immigrant students and families of Los Angeles really are and how much education matters to them. It also shows that when we invest in supporting our most vulnerable students, they can accomplish great things. I want to thank our teachers, instructional coaches, instructional aides. Thank you for your hard work in the classroom, and you deserve to be honored and supported as well. But unfortunately, the federal administration does not appear to be letting up in their efforts to dehumanize these very students and strip them of the resources that they rightfully deserve, like access to healthy food. It is unconscionable that now our students and families have to worry about having enough food to eat because of the government shutdown. Just 2 weeks ago, I was at Santee High School, and a student asked me if I had ever been hungry during a meeting. This is their experience when they come to school. They go to class, and they might be hungry. And they asked me, what happens to us on the weekends when we don't have the food from school? This is a very real situation for our students. I want to thank our high school community at Santee for standing up for each other and for those who can't always stand up for themselves. After conversations with leadership and district staff, I can assure you that we are working diligently to strengthen our protocols and communication systems moving forward. As your board member, I will continue to fight to ensure that you are safe inside and outside of school and that you have the support, academic, social, emotional, community supports that you need to continue to show just how brilliant you are. But we must also continue to fight for more resources from the state of California as well. We cannot be forced to choose between education programs and services that all make part of a quality education that all of our students deserve. And I just want to say it in Spanish. I don't want to take up too much time, but este es un logro extraordinario a pesar de los ataques contra nuestros mismos estudiantes inmigrantes. Dominar 2 idiomas no es fácil. Lo que muchos de nuestros estudiantes han tenido que superar para llegar aquí este tiempo es grandísimo. Esto demuestra la gran resiliencia de los estudiantes y las familias inmigrantes de Los Ángeles y la importancia que le dan a la educación. También demuestra que cuando invertimos en apoyar a nuestros estudiantes más vulnerables, pueden lograr grandes cosas. Quiero agradecer a los maestros, los coaches de instrucción y ayudantes de clases. Gracias por su arduo trabajo en la aula. Ustedes también merecen ser reconocidos y apoyados. Lamentablemente, la administración federal no parece ceder en sus esfuerzos para deshumanizar a estudiantes y negarles los recursos que se merecen, como el acceso a los alimentos saludables. Es inconcebible que ahora nuestros estudiantes y familias tengan que preocuparse por tener suficiente comida debido al cierre del gobierno. Gracias a la comunidad de Santee High School por apoyarse mutuamente y por quienes no siempre pueden defenderse. Tras conversar con la dirección y el personal del distrito, les aseguro que estamos trabajando diligentemente para fortalecer los protocolos y sistemas de comunicación. Como miembro de la Junta Directiva, seguiré luchando para garantizar su seguridad dentro y fuera de la escuela y que cuenten con el apoyo académico, socioemocional y comunitario que necesitan para seguir demostrando su brillantez. También seguiré luchando por obtener más recursos del Estado de California. No debemos tener que escoger entre todos los programas y servicios que se necesitan para ofrecer una educación de calidad que todos nuestros estudiantes se merecen. Gracias.
Thank you very much. Next up, School Board Member Tanya Ortiz-Franklin.
Thank you. Good morning. It's so great to see so many people here united for our students, as we so often are in Los Angeles. I'm Tanya Ortiz-Franklin, representing South Los Angeles and the Harbor area, and I stand with everyone for our immigrant students and families. So many of us up here are also immigrant students and families, so it is personal and professional for us. I just want to give a shout out to an organization in San Pedro called the Harbor Peace Patrol. These are neighbors and community members who are out in our neighborhood every morning looking for ICE agents and letting our community members know if they spot them and what is happening. We have a great communication between our schools and our community to help our families feel safe coming to and from school every day. And it is neighbors like the Harbor Peace Patrol all over Los Angeles that are uniting and doing what they can for our community. I want to give a shout out to the YMCA, in particular our Wilmington YMCA, who has been doing food distribution for weeks and in doing food deliveries to the homes of our families who are quarantining because they are fearful of going out of their doors. So thank you to the YMCA. And I want to remind everyone that voting begins this weekend. Many LA Unified schools, LA Academy in my district, Bonita Elementary in Carson, we are open to receive your votes on Prop 50. Please educate yourself. You have until Tuesday, starting this Saturday, until Tuesday, to make your voice heard on Prop 50. Please get out there and vote if you can, because we know so many can't. And those who have the ability to exercise that right, please do so, because it is our privilege and our responsibility to stand up together for our students and families, whether it is patrolling for ICE and making sure our streets are safe, whether it is delivering food and making sure our families are fed, or whether it is exercising your vote. We can all do something. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And next up, Board Member Nick Melvoin.
Thank you, Superintendent Nick Melvoin, representing the West Side and the West Valley. Like my colleagues have said, it's so nice to see, I don't know what the cameras are able to capture, but this diverse group of leaders, not just from LA Unified, but throughout LA County. And thank you so much to our partners. As nice as it is to see all of you, it's so unfortunate that we're here yet again for another one of these press conferences where we are calling out the cruelty of this administration and the attack on our children and families. But as we stood here a few months ago to call out the immorality of the ICE raids and talk about what we were doing to protect our students, at the time we were seeing cuts to Title II and other programs, we made a commitment as a district and as a region to fight for our students and fight for their families. And we said we would use reserves, and we said we would show the brilliance of our student population. And so you're seeing that today with these LPAC scores. My colleagues, Ms. Ortiz-Franklin and Ms. Gomez and I were just in a board committee meeting. We were talking about our expansion of preschool and 600 more 2-year-olds in seats today than at this time last year. And it's showing the resilience of this community and what happens when we all stand together. And speaking of that, I remember as I walked in this room, how many of us were standing here about 5.5 years ago in this room to talk about what was happening as the country was physically closing, how LA Unified was going to remain open to serve food and supplies. And we ran the largest food relief effort in school history in America to support families. And so now, 5.5 years later, as the world or as the country is morally closing, as this government is shutting down or has been shut down, we are standing here again to say that LA Unified and our partners will remain open and making sure that we're serving students 3 meals a day and we're helping their families. And we will show that this community is united, and not only because our boys in blue are in the World Series, and notwithstanding what happened the last 2 nights, we know tomorrow we're going to show the Blue Jays what's going on, but because of this, the efforts of folks in this room and what we're doing. So thank you, Superintendent. Again, thank you. I see our labor partners, I see our county partners, I see so many folks doing the work. And we want to remind you that your students are safe at school. There are no safer places than LA Unified Schools, and we'll continue to serve those meals. We'll continue to use our distribution channels to get food out, to work with partners who need legal services. And I think as we look back at the darkness and the cruelty of these days for this country, LA will be a bright spot. Thank you.
Next up, School Board Member Kelly Gomez.
Good afternoon. I am super heartened to be with all of our amazing partners here today. As we know, it takes a village to educate and support our children, and during these really difficult times, we are coming together as a community to support our students and families. I have to begin by calling out the callousness and cruelty of the federal administration. This is a crisis that did not need to happen. It is an intentional decision to deprive babies, children, and their parents of critical food and nutrition assistance at a time when that was not necessary, when there are ways to avoid that type of pain. Our federal government and this president is choosing to inflict this harm on our communities, and it is unconscionable what they are doing. But at this time, we know, as always, LA is going to step up and lead the way. Not only are we already providing 3 meals a day for many, many of our students, but we are expanding access to all youth for our hot supper program. We are working with our partners like the YMCA, like the regional food banks, to expand access for more children in our community and more families to have access to critical meal support. So as always, we are going to work together to ensure every need of our family is met. At this time, I think the effort is to make us feel demoralized and powerless. And we know we are not demoralized and we are not without power. We have to utilize our power and utilize the strength of our collective community to stand with our families, to stand up for our families, and to support them at this time. And that's what you're seeing today. I also, on a more positive note, want to recognize the LPAC scores that we celebrated today, our English language learners, our multilingual students, our newcomer students who are demonstrating incredible progress academically and when it comes to linguistic proficiency. This is an effort we've been leading for many years. Last year, I passed a resolution called Éxito y Promesa, which focused on not only the academic needs, but the social and emotional needs of our immigrant students. These efforts are even more important today as we're seeing never-ending attacks on our immigrant communities. And we see that in the midst of this trauma and fear, LA continues to lead, and our students are showing their brilliance and their potential every single day. So thank you just so much to everyone for being here in support of our families and for stepping up to meet their needs at this really difficult time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to bring up Dr. Barbara Ferrer, a face and voice well known to you in this community. She's obviously the director of the LA County Department of Public Health.
Buenos dias, everyone. Thank you. It's truly a privilege to be here today. First, I want to extend my gratitude to Superintendent Carvalho and the entire board for their extraordinary leadership and commitment to ensuring that every single child in Los Angeles has what they need to learn, grow, and thrive. Your collective vision for equity in education continues to inspire us at Public Health. My deep thanks also to all of our community partners who are here today, our labor partners, all the staff and the teachers at LAUSD. You know, you're really the backbone of what makes our communities thrive and what makes our children feel well-respected and able to learn. And I really want to just applaud all of you, not just for being here with us, but more importantly, for really being with all of the people in our community. Mil gracias a todos. Thank you. Everyone here plays a vital role in creating environments where our students and their families feel supported, safe, and seen. This collective leadership is essential to the health and well-being of our communities, and it's something that this federal government cannot destroy. We're facing large and devastating threats from this administration to our entire health and social service systems. These threats as Dr. Carvalho and the entire board noted, go far beyond a government shutdown. They strike at the very foundation of our communities and our safety net, installing federally sanctioned violence in our neighborhoods and deep cuts to hospitals and community clinics, attacks on access to affordable public and private health insurance, and the weakening of our nation's public health infrastructure. If these actions continue, their impacts will be felt most by the families who already have the fewest resources and the greatest need. As all of you know, the delay in CalFresh benefits due to the federal government shutdown is devastating to the more than 1.5 million children and adults who rely on these benefits to buy groceries every month. And I want to note that we already have 1 in 10 families in LA experiencing food insecurity. The loss of benefits to LA County recipients is about $320 million each month until the shutdown ends. And if the shutdown extends beyond December 31st, childcare, WIC, CalWORKS, Section 8 housing subsidies, and public housing maintenance funds will also lose their funding. Money for core public health disease investigation and TB control, for example, will be lost. We have begun actively planning for the very real possibility that more essential benefits could go unfunded if the shutdown remains beyond the end of the year. As part of the county's contingency planning, we have been working closely with many of our partners to identify actions we can take now to mitigate these impacts and try to address the increasing manufactured need. This includes the contract amendment that my department just executed with the LA Regional Food Bank to give them an immediate additional $10 million to buy and distribute food across their 940 sites, as well as set up additional pop-up sites in high-impact communities where the need is the most. The county is grateful to be partnering with LAUSD in setting up pop-up food distribution sites and in coordinating with all of our partners to do that now. We will share more specifics about these events as the details are finalized. We're in close communication about information and available resources so that we can work together on mitigating the tremendous need that's in front of us. We're also calling on everyone to help in any way you're able. Donate money or food to any food bank or community organization that's already established and giving food to those in need. Start your holiday giving campaigns right now, recognizing that people need help immediately. Provide gift cards to people so that they can buy groceries and other necessities, and help food pantries be able to hand out more food and meet the need. Share information about where people can go to get help. And if you need help, you can call 211 or go to your local food pantry and they'll have more information. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. You've heard it as we're doing this in cooperation, collaboration with many, many, many community-based organizations, with labor entities, SEIU, UTLA, Teamsters, everyone has been remarkable in deploying protective measures for the children and families in our community. And today speaking, the voice of labor, I'd like to invite up Ms. Adriana Salazar, President of Teamsters 572.
Thank you. First, I want to thank the superintendent and the school board for inviting the Teamsters and labor to be part of this fight. Because let's not make any mistake about it. This is a fight. It's a fight for our children. LAUSD has over 557,000 students. Over 80% of them are in the lower socioeconomic level. 73% of them are Hispanic or Latino. And over 70,000 receive special ed benefits. To withhold SNAP benefits directly impacts the most vulnerable in our community. This isn't an immigration issue. This isn't a labor issue. This is a human rights issue. and we're here to fight it. Our members are on the front line at schools. We see the need that the students in the community have. Our members know that the meals they receive at LAUSD are more than likely the only hot and nutritious meals students will receive all day because they see it directly. We are proud to represent thousands of school-based members, including the food service managers, the lunch ladies, if you will, the lunch men. They are there and they talk to the students directly. And when I ask them, what are students saying? What's happening at the schools? They tell us that students are afraid. Students are afraid that come November 1st, there won't be food for them to eat. Not just food at home, which is absolutely scary, but they're afraid that if they come to school, there will not be the free breakfast, lunch, or supper that they normally receive. And I don't know how to stress this enough, but they will absolutely receive all of those meals at LAUSD. Our members are standing there, ready, waiting, and willing to feed your students. So send them. We will keep them safe. We will keep them fed. This isn't, like I said, this isn't an issue that we should be facing. No one chooses to be poor or hungry. That isn't a choice you wake up and make. This is a policy issue. This is a national administrative issue, and it has no place at all with children. These are adults' issues, and you are now forcing them into children, and that needs to stop. Thank you.
All right, a few words in Spanish, and then we'll take your questions. Hoy estamos reunidos aquí con nuestros líderes comunitarios, con la Junta Escolar y con personas de nuestra comunidad que tienen una ambición muy fuerte de proteger a nuestros niños. Y estamos hablando de tres temas sumamente importantes. El primero, de un punto de vista muy positivo, es que los resultados de los exámenes para los aprendices de inglés ya fueron publicados. Y los resultados son muy positivos para nuestra comunidad de Los Ángeles. Estamos en este momento alcanzando aprovechamiento académico para nuestros aprendices de inglés de una forma más fuerte y más elevada que el estado de California. Y eso es correcto con todos los subgrupos de estudiantes. Eso significa que la mayor parte de nuestros niños inmigrantes, aprendices de inglés, están demostrando en este momento que son los mejores en nuestro estado. Pero al mismo tiempo, desafortunadamente, son niños y familias que están pasando por un nivel de temor, de intimidación, que no es aceptable de un punto de vista humano. Y es por eso que estamos declarando una vez más los protocolos de protección que nuestro sistema de educación está proveyendo para nuestras familias y nuestros estudiantes. Y es por eso que hace más de un mes yo mandé una carta a la Secretaria de Educación a nivel federal y la Secretaria de Seguridad Nacional pidiendo lo que yo pienso es muy simple, una zona de exclusión alrededor de nuestros planteles escolares, 2 bloqueos de cada plantel escolar, con una garantía muy importante, que acciones federales no existirían en ese espacio de protección, principalmente una hora antes y una hora después del día escolar, para evitar la tragedia que sucedió la semana pasada cerca de la secundaria Santee. Agentes federales armados, debido a una acción en esa área, usaron sus armas de fuego, dispararon. Un agente fue herido tan cerca de nuestro plantel escolar, con casi 1,000 estudiantes allá. Eso es un peligro que no puede repetirse aquí en nuestra comunidad, en cualquier parte de nuestro país. Es que por eso, después de más de un mes, esperando una respuesta de las entidades federales, yo decidí hoy firmar otra carta, dando como ejemplo lo que pasó cerca de la secundaria de Santee, usando ese ejemplo para pedir una consideración especial para esta zona de exclusión que beneficiaría no solamente a nuestros planteles escolares aquí en Los Ángeles, pero todos los sistemas de educación a nivel nacional. Lo estamos pidiendo de un punto de vista humano, de un punto de vista de empatía, de compasión para nuestros niños. Y por último, debido al anuncio federal que en 2 días los beneficios de nutrición para familias pobres y niños pobres, y más de 80% de nuestros niños son pobres, esos beneficios van a terminar. Es por eso que estamos aquí juntos como comunidad, para garantizar que ningún niño, ninguna niña en nuestra comunidad debería pasar hambre. Tenemos los recursos y es por eso que vamos a distribuir de nuestros planteles escolares las comidas necesarias para que nuestros niños puedan cenar. En este momento, nuestra distribución ya llegó a 55,000 cenas diarias. Tenemos la capacidad de aumentar esa cifra hacia más de 400,000 estudiantes que beneficiarían de este proyecto. Estas son las medidas que estamos tomando en colaboración con las entidades comunitarias representadas aquí. Para más información, por favor, en la pantalla pueden ver nuestro sitio web para obtener más información en la distribución de comidas de nuestros planteles escolares, pero también las comunidades, las entidades comunitarias representadas aquí que también están haciendo distribución de comida. Y si tienen alguna pregunta, por favor llamen a la hotline. Estamos listos para apoyar, estamos listos para responder, contestar a cualquier pregunta. La realidad de hambre en nuestra comunidad impactando a nuestros niños no va a pasar aquí en Los Ángeles. All right, your questions, if any. I'm sorry? Unfortunately not. Todavía no hemos recibido una respuesta por parte del gobierno federal y es por eso que decidí mandar una segunda carta, pero usando el ejemplo del incidente que sucedió la semana pasada, muy, muy trágico.
¿El Distrito Escolar tiene algún protocolo para proteger a los estudiantes? ¿Por escrito tienen protocolo o no lo tienen?
Tenemos protocolos, tenemos una policía de la Junta Escolar y protocolos que ya informamos nuestros directores de escuela, nuestros empleados, pero también nuestras familias. Todo está publicado.
¿No pueden intervenir a la policía escolar en un operativo federal como el que sucedió en la calle 20?
Nuestra policía escolar pierde su jurisdicción fuera de nuestros planteles escolares y es ilegal interferir con acciones de entidades federales. So I'm going to be careful about what we have done, and not every one of those actions can we discuss publicly, but through our Compassion Fund, as soon as Benjamin, and this was a very disturbing case, was apprehended while walking his little dog. Right after that, we provided, through third-party legal entities, support to the family. I have spoken with the mom directly. I've spoken to the principal of the school he attended. It is a regrettable tragedy. So we know what is happening, and we will continue to support that family. We've been successful, by the way, in obtaining the release of another student who was apprehended in our community, sent to Texas, and he has now been returned. And I certainly hope that the better judgment will prevail in this case as well. So good question. So the food delivery for the supper, as I mentioned earlier, we're currently delivering at the school sites about 50 to 55,000 suppers daily. We have the capacity to increase that significantly. Those meals are delivered at the school site, okay? And for additional information, please go to our website. And we have distribution sites throughout our entire community, over 600 such sites throughout our community. Secondly, a lot of the community-based organizations you see represented here today are also doing food drives and providing food to our community. That information, too, is on our website.
What other impacts is the district bracing for right now?
What
other impacts is the district bracing for right now from the government shutdown? And how might higher state revenue perhaps help offset some of that impact?
So let me begin with the second part of your question. So we've read with interest the governor's announcement that over $80 million statewide will be provided to assist with the reduction of impact specific to the cessation of SNAP benefits. But look, probably $80 to $85 million wouldn't even come close to addressing the need of LA alone. That is why we quickly stood up these additional offerings and additional awareness specific to what we can do. Going to your first question, in addition to nutrition needs in our community, look, we've already spoken about the fact that farm-to-table fresh fruits, vegetables, that was a program that benefited the local economy and provided fresh fruits and vegetables in our schools. That's already been cut. In addition to that, as a result of Medicaid reductions, after-school programming has been impacted in our community. Provision of services has been impacted in our community. We're now bracing ourselves for greater understanding about impacts to adult education programs, particularly programs that benefit adult students who may have a fragile immigration status. We're seeking clarification after receiving communication from the federal government that perhaps those individuals would be no longer eligible to those types of programs. Long term, obviously, we're concerned about the appropriation levels for what we call entitlement programs. Title I program that brings in excess of $350 million annually to the school district. For now, it is safe because we're using monies that were initially appropriated by Congress. When the fiscal year ends, it's anyone's guess as to what the administration will do. We're very concerned with guidance that we received specific to Title III. And Title III is a federal program that benefits English language learners, presumably disproportionately immigrant children or children of immigrants themselves. We believe that that program will be significantly targeted. So there is a wide array of potential impacts with significant reductions that would be disastrous, not only to the financial viability of our district, but more importantly, to the services that our kids and families depend on. There's a lot of talent here. Please, if you want to approach any one of our partners and friends, they'll be available to provide you additional information.
Todos los que estamos aquí presentes de alguna manera hemos tenido hijos probablemente. Las familias tienen a sus hijos en las escuelas de Los Ángeles. ¿Qué lección le deja a usted como padre de familia el hecho de que el gobierno esté jugando con la vida de millones de niños y de familias en este país?
Como inmigrante que una vez fue indocumentado en este país, como joven pobre en este país, yo considero las amenazas constantes que vienen a esta comunidad del gobierno federal representan una amenaza muy fuerte. Y yo pienso que estas acciones políticas tienen una intención de crear miedo, de crear presión para que la comunidad empiece a tomar acciones que no beneficiarían a nuestros niños y a nuestras familias. Pero eso no va a suceder aquí en nuestra comunidad. Es una comunidad de inmigrantes. La comunidad entiende muy bien la intención de nuestra Junta Escolar. La comunidad está unida y no vamos a tener ninguna división aquí en Los Ángeles. Somos una comunidad unida que va a luchar y a proteger a nuestros niños inmigrantes, a todos nuestros niños y a nuestras familias. Y eso está representado aquí con entidades comunitarias hoy. Thank you very much.